So we're at the CES 2025 in Las Vegas, and we have a very special guest with us today. Brian Gu, the Vice Chairman President of XPeng, and today's kind of representing XPeng Aero HT, but obviously the company is related.
The international debut.
International debut of the
Aircraft carrier.
land
Landcraft carrier.
Land aircraft carrier.
land aircraft carrier. So why don't we start with CES and this carrier international debut? Simply the question is, what's your message this year at CES?
And why did you decide to show here with the Air?
Yeah, first of all, I think we have a pretty special feeling about CES. You know, Xing Lei, that we actually debuted our first product, the G3, originally in the January 2018 here.
7 years ago.
Yeah,
Right.
so that's the beginning of our, sort of product cycle. And since then, actually been, coming to CES pretty much every year except for the COVID years. And last year, actually, we brought HT, the Huitian eVTOL company here as well. They showcased prototype, which is an integrated design. But at that time, we promised the CES crowd that this year we're going to bring a product that's much closer to real final product consumer market. And that's what we did. So this year, we're actually bringing the first production model that we will launch in China, which is actually a detached design that called land aircraft carrier. It is actually a land vehicle, like a big van, but with a flying drone inside. It can be loaded and unloaded separately, and it can fly on its own purely with battery power for about 30 kilometers. So that's a product that we have already showcased to the market in China. We have done test flights with manned inside. We actually have also received indicative orders of over 3,000 in China. So it's a very exciting product. And we think we can also finish our official factory production plan later this year, getting the final approval type certification later this year, and ready for consumer delivery next year.
I guess my question would be, when do we get to try?
Well, my question is have you tested on the vehicle?
Well, I have. So first of all,
important.
no, I've actually tested even earlier models. This is actually much better. Earlier model doesn't even have a cabin, right? You have the propeller in front of you, fly, for 10, 5 minutes. I've done that. I haven't done in this latest model, which obviously we were not just started the manned test flights. After maybe iterations, we'll let executives and others try before we launch to the end market. But it's also a design that's much safer. A lot of redundancies now built into it, with powertrain redundancy, the electric motor redundancy, as well as flight control is much more sophisticated.
Yeah, very cool. Maybe we switch gears and reflect on 2024. I know you're an ex-banker. You had some great numbers. I went to the presser just now, and you reflected a little bit on XPeng's numbers in 2024. Can you tell us a little bit about your growth in 2024, some of the products that you have in China, and what your international plans are for 2025 are?
Well, 2024 is a very interesting year. In China, I think the big milestone has been crossed when the entire automotive market went from an IC-dominated market to now a new energy-dominated market, which changed everything.
Yeah.
Because now the new energy vehicles, the EVs and the hybrids, have become mainstream products. ICs become the minority. Second development, I think, witnessed in Chinese market is the availability of smart driving, right? So you saw, the vehicles in the mid to high end price points now has to have smart driving technology in order to sell. 2-3 years ago, it's only a small niche. When we first launched P7, by the way, it was only a less than 5% product that really can have that kind of feature. Now, pretty much in mid to high end segment, it's required. And also the feature is getting better and better in terms of offering. And the third, I think, a big change in this market is the globalization effort, right? Now you saw all the major brands from China now have to have a global strategy.
Right.
You cannot rely on China-only story to, build your business.
Yeah.
Those, I think, are huge differentiators happening to 2024 that will have longer-term impacts. And for XPeng, I think, we actually, I would say, have really transformed ourselves to address all these different areas of development. First of all, we need to cover all the price segments to be a mainstream player. That's why we launched Mona 03. That's why we launched X9. We're targeting large family, higher price products. We also targeted small, young, more affordable products. We continue to hold on smartification. That's why the P7 Plus showcased most advanced and latest
We were at
smartification.
Paris, and the reception was amazing in Paris, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see that we do focused on all these elements of development. It's also a vindication for us because, as you know, 3-4 years ago, when we told the world that smartification is the key differentiator, nobody believed us, right? People said, "Oh, it's just nice to have," right? It's you're wasting your time and money developing smart driving technologies. Now I think we finally saw the market receiving and accepting that it's going to be the long-term differentiator.
We can attest that your intelligent driving system is one of the best because we used it for 1,500 miles from Beijing to Shenzhen last April, last
end of April, right after Beijing Olympics.
So we took a G9.
So probably one of the more experienced drivers.
I've test driven the Mona 3 and the P7 Plus.
Yeah. So I think for us, because of those investments and because the changes we made, and also company had to also go through changes to make sure we are strong in our supply chain, we're strong in our product development, planning, and execution and manufacturing, et cetera, et cetera. So the effort of that is you saw the growth of our delivery took off.
Oh yeah.
Later last year. It's actually it almost like went through a straight line. And then obviously the exciting news for us is that in the last 4 months we saw record sales every month. Yeah. Every month is a record month. And the latest weekly number you saw as of yesterday, we actually now the #1 emerging brand delivery in China. We actually exceeded Li Auto for the first time.
I saw that.
So that was actually quite interesting. Yeah. So and then they in 30 plus months of these 30 plus weeks or months, I forgot. Weeks. Weeks. They were #1.
Yeah.
It's the first time they would be displaced by a BEV brand. Think about it. No BEV company has ever been in the top of that list. So we actually become the #1 emerging player on the top of the list. Also, we exceeded Tesla.
It was very, very impressive
For
very
that
impressive.
product.
So the way I would describe XPeng last year is 2 completely different halves of 2024.
Yeah.
And I will call it a turnaround kind of, whereas the first half was kind of not going so well for a while, and all of a sudden, the second half, things took off. What happened? Like, what do you think were some of the things that you did? Was it just in the natural product pipeline that came out? Or?
Maybe I can ask it another way. What were your major learnings from the last 18 months? Because you had an international strategy, regrouped, and have a new one now. I think it's much, much better, obviously. So what are some of the learnings from the early years?
Yeah, you guys know us very well. So I think, first of all, even I would say 12 months or even 18 months ago, when people asked us when you start to see we're really going to the positive cycle, in the Xiaopeng said 正循环, positive cycle, we always told them later in 2024. So that was actually what we have guided all along, because that's where the product planning cycle really coincided with that. But we did not foresee the big drop in the first half of 2024 because we had a very successful end of 2023, right? We had the G6 and also the delivery hit 20,000. So we get a little bit of I would say, comfortable and also overconfident about the competitive dynamic in the first half of 2024. We saw obviously the market become very intense in terms of a price competition. And our product, I think, because it was not, I would say, really prepared from a marketing side, from a product, innovation cycle side to really compete in that period. We saw a very, I would say, depressed sales levels. So I think that is actually a big learning.
Okay.
The learning is that you need to really have a view on competitive market and also take action. We know it's going to be competitive, but we didn't know it's going to be that competitive. At the same time, we relied on our existing product competitiveness rather than helping it with retooling some of the product features, increasing our marketing as well as planning. And also, I think another big differentiator is we actually changed the way we market. We probably also witnessed that the second half is very different from the first half in terms of the way that we really think about marketing. I think we obviously have a new head of marketing. He's a great, made a lot of difference for us. But also, we realized that we cannot have traditional auto marketing as a way to sell products anymore. It's not efficient. It's not really,
at least in China.
So in China, at least, right? So that change happened mid last year as well. So coincide with the product cycle, coincide with the marketing change, as well as some of our initiatives start paying off. For example, we told the street that we're going to lower our BOM cost by more than 20%. We said in the end of 2023. We finally delivered by the end of 2024, which helped us to be more competitive, introducing price points that's more competitive in the market. All that, I think, helped us to position ourselves. And I think the overarching thing is to have organization really went through the adjustment. Have Madam Wang joining us, having other talents that really bring some of the much needed help,
like
to really fill some of the
efficiency.
gaps. Those things actually really happen, and also the organizational structure and culture remained intact throughout that process, which is not easy. So, looking through all that, having a company going through volatility like that, it's not common. And we are quite fortunate and also quite, I would say, confident that after going through that, we're in a much better and more solid position to compete.
So, looking ahead to this year, obviously you have additional products coming. You have EVs coming. One question that I had was, it seems everybody's moving to EVs. How long do you think that is that a transition? And how long do you think that will take? Because I still think BEVs will be the final route. But everybody's now is moving to EVs. First, from XPeng's point of view, why are you doing that? Why is everybody doing that? Second, how long is that shift or transition?
Yeah, I think the extended range format, our view is that there is sustained opportunity because I think the whole market still needs time to adjust to the electrified world. And also current electric vehicle still have product features that I think is not addressing some of the anxieties or customer needs. So I think there is going to be a period, I would say, probably a longer transition, if using your definition, needed to go through that. So the tail will take probably more longer than we originally thought. As a BEV company, we already thought it was a 3 to 5 year thing. Probably it's going to be longer than that. And if that is true, then we think we cannot avoid but to tackle that as an opportunity because it represents a large chunk of the market share. At the same time, the traditional thinking of hybrid is no longer valid because we are seeing hybrid as just another version of BEV. If you think about the way that we want to introduce BEV product, is actually the extended range is just an option.
Yours is like extra extended.
You call it super electric.
Yeah, we call it super electric, right? 超电. Because we think ultimately people will transition to an electrified world. it's only during that process, there are people who has range anxieties. They want to address certain driving scenarios to have a peace of mind, et cetera, and that we can give them the option. But we want to convince them to drive an EV, and that is different from other hybrid companies.
I think you have like your strongest product lineup, very complementary. So, and the E-Revs allow you to enter Europe a little more cleanly than the battery electrics. I think BYD is going to really push PHEVs into Europe. But now we're talking about Europe. How's the relationship with Volkswagen? I know XPeng is generating some incremental revenue from the licensing and the partnership. How's that going?
And then just to add, you just signed a big deal with the charging station network. That was huge.
Yeah.
Right? The biggest, you wanted the biggest provider of the superchargers in China. One of them, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think the relationship with Volkswagen is very strategic for us and for them as well. And I think that both sides are treating it as
I think you're being kind. It's existential for them, I think.
Well, I mean, I would say, they are very progressive in terms of finding ways to compete.
Yeah.
Not just in China, but also globally.
Right.
They have done a lot of deals, obviously. But I think for us, the relationship help us in a number of fronts, right? First of all, it bring a very credible partner, a shareholder that has a long-term benefit. Secondly, I think we always wanted to find partner that can help us really expand our technology reach, because for us to spend the kind of resource and effort to develop cutting-edge technology and limit it to a small quantity, it's just not efficient. But at the same time, we don't want to be a tier one supplier, right? We're an EV, we're a manufacturer. We want to be the number one, innovator in this, in the automobile or the EV category. So the best way is to partner with the biggest player, because that gives you the benefit of synergy without changing your business model. At the same time, it helps us to, have the potential of monetizing and also amplifying our technology in the largest possible way. So that's the reason I think, both sides spend a lot of time, talking to multiple parties, and we found, each other as the right fit. They also want to have the player that can be the most nimble and also have, focus on the technology on the right segment for their products. So I think it's a very, very much a win-win partnership. And we actually also see there's a much more potential than all the agreements that we have been striking with them. We actually now, the charging agreement is the fourth agreement that we have now signed with them. We have the product partnership, we have the EEA, arrangement, we have the supply chain agreement, now we have the charging agreement. So with time and with obviously closer relationship, we can develop more trust and also hopefully bring that partnership to other areas or a higher level. So I think I'm very hopeful of that.
What are some of the milestones we can expect this year, if you can share?
Well, for the partnership, I think this year is obviously a year that we need to make sure the existing agreements on the product planning, on the EEA moves on track. We actually have a delivery timetable because they also going to launch products in China in 2026, and also our EEA architecture will be
if they
there.
can keep up with,
CPN,
if they can keep up with your team
platform in China. So all that I think it needs to be demonstrated with the right successful timetable. At the same time, I think looking forward to additional areas that we can explore, both in China and maybe also overseas.
The latest earnings call, if I remember, you wanted to do 90% the market outside of North America by the end of this year. Is that still on track?
Well, I think we are already in a majority of the EV markets other than the US or North America, because if you look at the markets that we already entered, we have, obviously most of the European countries, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, the Oceanic. The only part that we probably need to focus on is Latin America. Obviously Brazil is a big market. We also have announced our partnership in Indonesia. That's all will fill a big, I would say, gap. And maybe we'll have to look at East Asia, as well. So I think it is going to be on track because I think outside of US, these are the major markets, and if we actually gonna be able to enter and then build a momentum there, I think we should be able to capture most of the meaningful markets.
Sarah's gonna have a lot of miles this year, I think. So, but Brian, thanks for joining us, and good luck to everything with XPeng this year and years to come.
Thank you very much.
We'll be looking forward to Shanghai, I guess, next major event.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
So
we'll
very
see
cool.
you there. Okay.
Great.
Yeah,
Thank you.